Hello, this is Ahmed Hafiz, and today we will talk about procurement and sourcing module in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. Procurement and sourcing module is a key component that helps organizations manage their purchasing process efficiently. Procurement and sourcing module will allow you to manage purchase requisition, purchase order, supplier relationship management or SRM, procurement workflow to enforce compliance with purchasing policy, catalog management, integration with inventory management, integration with budgeting to make sure that your purchasing does not exceed the budget. It also has integration with other modules such as sales and marketing, project management to ensure data consistency and enable end-to-end process automation. Overall, the procurement and sourcing module provide organizations with the tools that need to streamline their purchasing processes, optimize supplier relationships, and drive cost saving across the procurement lifecycle. In this demo, I will start by creating vendors, then I will show you step by step, starting from purchase acquisition up to invoicing the purchase orders. To create new vendor, click here, then procurement and sourcing, then vendors, then all vendors. This is the list of all the defined vendors in this legal entity. To create new vendor, click on New button. Then you need to assign vendor account ID. This can be manually or automatically through number sequence. For this demo, I will assign it manually. Let's call it V0001. Then you can assign a name for this vendor. Let's call it V vendor 1. Then you need to assign group. Vendor group can be used for classification, but the main purpose of the vendor group is to integrate with general ledger to assign the main accounts for vendors. So I can use any of these for this demo, so I will use 40. These are the mandatory fields for creating any new vendor, but you can also complete the vendor information like address, contact information, organization number, and so on. Let's create new address here. So click on add button, then give it a name like vendor main site. Then you need to define the purpose of this address like business, delivery, fixed asset, payment. I will leave it as business. Then you need to define the country or region. I will leave it as USA. Then you need to define the zip code. Let's choose any zip code here. Then you need to use the address. So I can give it any address like 555 John Street. Then you can make this as primary address for this vendor and primary for the country. Then click OK. Let's also add vendor number. Let's call it main site as well. And you can give it any phone number here. You can add more information like mode of delivery here. Let's use truck. The sales tax group to calculate the sales tax. The delivery terms. You can also add some other fields to be defaulted when creating new purchase order, like the default site, the default warehouse. We can also add some other information like discount group, price group, line discount group, the purchase calendar to calculate the delivery date. You can also add here the terms of payment. The method of payment will be cash or check or credit card. You can also add some financial dimensions like cost center, department, project. This financial dimension will be useful to create financial reporting. For this demo, I will leave it blank. Then I can click Save button here. I will create another vendor V002 because I will need two vendors for this demo. So let's give it ID. Let's call it vendor 2. Let's select the group, add another address here, main. You can also select here any zip code, then click OK. I will add also here the contact information like phone. You can also add other things like email address, URL, fax, LinkedIn. I will also add here the default site and default warehouse. The method of payment will be, let's make it checks. Then I will click Save. As you see, there are several fields here, so you can fill the fields that you need for your business. Now we will talk about purchase acquisition. Purchase acquisition serve as formal request for authorization to procure goods or services within an organization. Anyone can raise purchase acquisition like ID department to buy computers or electronics. Maintenance department can raise purchase acquisition to buy spare parts and so on. The purchase acquisition will go through approval steps or workflow. So before creating the purchase acquisition, I want to show you how to create the workflow. To create workflow, you need to click here, then procurement and sourcing, then setup, then procurement and sourcing workflows. Then you have here the defined workflows for this legal entity. I can create a new one. So click on new button. Then you need to choose here the workflow you need to set up. So I need to set up purchase acquisition workflow. Then click on open button. It will ask you to install the workflow editor. So click on run. It will take few seconds. Then you need to enter your credential. Then the workflow editor will open. This is the workflow editor. So it starts like this. Let me maximize it. So you have start and end. We have here the steps that we can use. So for this demo, I will use approval step. You need just drag and drop here. Connect the start, then connect to the end. Then we have here some mandatory fields need to be filled. So I need to click here. Then the step 1, I need to assign this approval step to someone. So I click here on assignment. Then I will assign this to specific user. Here, click on user. Then let's assign this one. Let's choose any one like Benjamin. then click on here. Then you need to give it some instruction, work item instruction, like approval, PO approval. I will use the same here. You can insert placeholders or translation. Then you need to click here. Then you need to move to the previous level. Now we just need to add workflow instructions. So click here on the white area, then click on basic setting and give it anything here like PO approval as well. I don't care. Then you don't have any warning or errors. You can save and close. Click OK. You can fill some notes here, then click on OK. Do you want to activate this version or not? Yes, I want to activate this version. Then click on OK. After saving the workflow, you will have here new record for purchase acquisition review workflow. So I need to make this as default. So I will select the record, then I set this as default. Also, I need to make sure the version is active. So this version is active. I can deactivate this from here. I need also to deactivate the previous one to make sure the application will use the new one. So go here, then go to version and make inactive here, then click on close button. Now I will create new purchase acquisition. So go here, then go to procurement and sourcing. Let me collapse everything. Then you need to go to purchase acquisition, then all purchase acquisitions. To create new purchase acquisition, click on new button. Give it a name like computer request. You can here set the requested date. I need this, let's say, on June 15. I will set the accounting date also for June 15. Accounting date used for budgeting. Then I will click on OK. The purchase acquisition has header and line. For header, you can choose the business justification from here. So I can just use general one. You can enter details like old computer, old laptop is damaged. Now let's create a line. So click on add line. You need to set here the requester buying legal entity receiving operating unit. For the item, you have three options. You can select from the internal catalog or from the external catalog, or you can select procurement category directly if you don't have item for it. For the demo, I will use internal catalog. So click here, then laptop Microsoft. Enter the site, warehouse, and the quantity. I will need one only. Then unit price is a procurement team responsibility. You don't need to enter unit price. Then click on save. Then click on workflow. Then submit. You can give here some business justification. Anything here, like then click on submit button. After click on the submit button, the workflow will go to the approver or Benjamin. So you can click here, then click on workflow history, and you can see here the workflow process and The current step is assigned to Benjamin Martin. You can reassign this step to yourself. So click here to reassign, then enter the user here, then click reassign. Now if we refresh here, it is assigned to me now. So click back, then click on refresh here, then click on workflow. Now you can approve the purchase acquisition. Before approving the purchase acquisition, I need to find good price for this laptop. So the best way is to raise request for quotation. So I need to click here request for quotation, select the legal entity USMF, select the line, then click OK. This will create request for quotation or RFQ. Then click here, refresh, then click on details here. You can go to the RFQ from here. First thing, we need to determine the list of vendors that we will send this RFQ to them. So go to header here, vendor fast tab, then select the vendors. I will use the two vendors that I created previously, vendor 1 and vendor 2. Then click on save button, then click send, then click OK. Notice here the status is updated to send. Now we have two options to enter the vendor reply or the vendor bid. We can allow the vendor to log into our application to enter the bid or the RFQ reply, or we can enter the RFQ reply on behalf of the vendor. For this demo, I will enter the vendor reply on behalf of the vendor. But before being able to do this, you need to set or enable parameter on procurement and sourcing parameters. So let's go to procurement and sourcing parameters. Let's go to here. This screen, you can go to this screen from here. Procurement and sourcing, setup procurement and sourcing parameters. Then you need to go to request for quotation. Then you need to enable purchaser can edit vendor's bid. Click on save button. Then let's go back to the request for quotation. To enter the vendor reply, click on manage replies here. We have two records, one for vendor 1 and another one for vendor 2. So let's enter the price for vendor 1. Click on edit button, edit RFQ reply. Then you can enter the price from here, 2000. You can enter other details like the delivery date, the lead time, and so on. Let's save, then submit. Let's submit the request for quotation reply for the other vendor. Click on edit, RFQ reply. Let's make this to 500. Then click save, then submit, then OK. Notice here the status of the request for quotation line is updated to received, and the purchase price is also updated. So from here I can compare the request for quotation reply and choose the best price. So for this one I will accept the 2000 from here. So I will click on accept, click OK. Another one to reject the vendor RFQ reply from vendor 2, then click OK. So here this one is accepted and the other one is rejected. Let's go back to the purchase acquisition. Here, let's go back one more time. Now, if we refresh here the purchase acquisition screen, we can see now the price is updated to 2000 and the vendor is updated to vendor 1. Now I can approve the workflow. So click on the workflow, click on approve. You can enter your comment here, then click on approve. This will take around 1 minute, then the purchase acquisition will be approved and closed. Now the purchase acquisition is approved and closed and the purchase order is created. So you can go to the purchase order from here, line details, then you can get the purchase order number from here. The first step is to confirm the purchase order. Note here the approval status is approved. So go to here, purchase, then click on confirm. Note the status here is updated to confirmed. So now let's assume the vendor sent this laptop to our warehouse. The first step is to update our warehouse with this laptop. To do this, you need to go to here, update line, registration, then click on registration line, then confirm registration. The receipt status update to registered. Now go back. We have another two options to register the quantity. First one through item arrival journal and the second one through warehouse mobile device if you use warehouse management processes. The next step is to receive or post the product receipt. But before doing this, let's have a look on the inventory transaction. So click here on inventory, then click on transactions. Note here the status is registered. Let's go back and post the product receipt. Click here, receive, then click on product receipt. Posting the product receipt will confirm the liability to the vendor and will update the vendor accrual. So first thing we need to update the product receipt number here. We can enter the number. Then here we can confirm the quantity. Let's say we have 10. We can confirm here the received quantity. So I will leave it as 1. Then click on OK. Notes here the purchase order status is updated to received. The next step is to generate the invoice. So click on Invoice, then Generate Invoice. You need to enter the invoice number, invoice description, invoice date, then click on Update Match Status if you use three-way matching or two-way matching. Make sure the match status is updated to Passed. Then you can click on Post. Note here the purchase order status is updated to invoiced. Now I want to show you how to create purchase order without purchase acquisition. To do this, go to Procurement and Sourcing, Purchase Orders, All Purchase Orders. Click on New button, enter the vendor ID, enter any other information like receipt date, site, warehouse, then click OK. Now let's add a line. Enter the item ID. Let's use our item. Site warehouse. Enter the quantity if you need more than one. This time I will enter the price manually, but next time I will show you how to create trade agreement. So let's say 2300. The net amount is 2300. I can enter here percentage. Let's say we have 10% discount. Then go to purchase, then confirm. Then you can do the registration, the product receipt, and invoice. If you need to enable workflow for the purchase order process, you will need to enable the change management from the procurement and sourcing parameter. So let's go to procurement and sourcing parameter. So from general tab, you need to activate change management like this. If you go back and create any new purchase order, notice here we have workflow now. I don't need change management for this demo, so I will disable it again. I just wanted to show you how to activate the workflow. So let's disable this one, save, and let's go back to the purchase order screen. In the previous example, we entered the unit price manually. Now I want to show you how to create trade agreement to calculate the price automatically. To create trade agreement, you need to go to procurement and sourcing, price and discounts, then trade agreement journal. Click on new button. Choose here, let's say price adjustment. Click on lines. For the demo, I will create two lines for vendor 1 and vendor 2. So first line, let's click here and select table. Then here I will choose the vendor account. Then here product code type will be table. Then I will choose the item number from here. I need to select the site, warehouse. Then I will set here the amount. And this trade agreement will be valid from May 1st to May 30. The next line will be for vendor 2. So let's select here table, vendor 2, the same item, same site and same warehouse. And this one will be 1800. But this one will be valid from June 1st to June 30. Now we will validate the journal. Click on validate and validate all lines. Click on OK. Journal is OK. Now we can post. Now let's create a new purchase order to see the impact of this trade agreement journal. So let's go again to all purchase orders. Click new one. Click OK. Then enter the item. Now, as you can see, the unit price is calculated automatically from the trade agreement journal. If you remember, the trade agreement was valid up to May 31st. So what will happen if we change the delivery date to something in later date? So let's go to delivery and change the receipt date to something in the future. Let's say July 10th. As you can see here, the unit price is blank because we don't have any trade agreement valid in July 10. So let's set the unit price manually because I want to show you how to add charges to this purchase order. So let's make it 2000. So we have two options to add the charge, or three options. First one, to assign the charge from the header. So go to the header here, then select the charge code. If you don't have charge code, you can create new one. So click on right click, then click on view details. You can see here all the charge codes. Here, this one, for example, debit item, credit, vendor. So we can use this one. So let's use fee here, and the charge will be percentage from the price. So let's say this one will be 10%. I don't need sales tax here. Click OK, save. Then we need to allocate the charge. So let's say if we have multiple lines, we can allocate the charge to all the lines. So we have one line only, so we can just choose any option here. So click on allocate. Now we can validate the charge from the line level. So go to financial here, then maintain charge. Now we can see here the charge percent is 10 and it is calculated to 200. Save and let's go back. We can see this also in the totals. Now the total is 2200. We can add the charge automatically from the line level. If you go to financial, maintain charge, you can add the charge from here directly. The other way is to create automatic charge. I will show you how to create this. If you go to procurement and sourcing, then setup, then charges, then automatic charges, then you can create automatic charge for the line level. So go here, then create new. This charge will be for vendor 001 and for item laptop. Then click on save button. Then the charge code will be this one, and let's use different charge. So this time will be fixed. So let's make it 300. Now let's go back to the purchase order and see how this charge will be inserted. So let's go back here and let's remove this line. Now we don't have anything, so let's add this line again. Let's check now the charge. Go to financial, maintain charges. Now, as you can see, the automatic charge is inserted here, as you see, 300. Now I want to show you how to create return order or how to return the quantity or the product to the vendor. We have some options, so I will show you three of them. First one is to create order with negative quantity. So here, let's select the vendor. Okay, enter the item ID. We need here to change the sign. So this one will be negative, and notice here the net amount is minus 2000. You will need to confirm and post the product receipt and invoice. This way you return the quantity to the vendor. The other way to return the material or the quantity to the vendor is to create purchase order with return type. Click on New button, select the vendor. Here we will need to change the type to returned order, and we will enter the RMA number. Select the item. You can set here the return reason like quality, and you can enter your comment here. Also here you need to enter the return action like this defective. Then you need to enter the quantity. If we entered positive quantity and click save, we will get error message because returned order must be negative. So let's change this to -1 and click save. Now we don't have any warning or error. We can confirm now. Post the product receipt and post the invoice. Now the return order is updated to invoice. The last option is to create credit note. So we will create purchase order normally V0001. Click OK. Then here on the purchase tab, we will create credit note. So here the application asks me which invoice you need to return. So I would say I need to return this invoice. Then let's, no, I don't need to return this. I need to return this one. Then click OK. The line is inserted here automatically, -1. Now I can confirm, post the product receipt and invoice. The next topic that I want to show you is the purchasing policy. You need to go to Procurement and Sourcing, Setup, Policies, then Purchasing Policies. From here, you can set multiple policies according to your business needs. For example, if I need to create the purchase order automatically or manually after approving the purchase requisition. So if you click here, then click on this link, then go to manual purchase order creation. Here you can determine if I will create the purchase order manually or automatically after approving the purchase requisition. You can set here also the access to procurement category. Let's have a look on this one. So here I select a specific category to be available for users. I set here a category policy rule if I need to perform three-way matching or two-way matching, and this one is very important one. If I need to confirm the liability on product receipt or not. So this is important option for the finance people. Last but not least, procurement and sourcing module has many inquiries and reports. You need to go through them and see which screen or report applicable for your business. For example, we can see here some statistics. We can see here the delayed receipts. So go through them, and if you need more information about procurement and sourcing module, please visit Microsoft Docs and search for procurement and sourcing. This is the page for procurement and sourcing. It has all the information you need. Thanks for watching and wish you best of luck in your career.